Hello scrappers and planet lovers, Tin Man here with another video. So behind me here I have two hoverboards that I was given for scrap value. Unfortunately they both no longer work and the family was kind enough to think of me for this video. So a big shout out to the Van Lieshout family and especially to a very special girl, Lauren Van Lieshout, who was actually one of my students as well. So thank you for these. And the nice thing about hoverboards is you can find them on garbage day. They are an excellent source of scrap material and very heavy. Each one of these is actually 26 pounds, and I could bring them in as is and get electronic weight price, which is currently about 5 to 6 cents a pound in London, Ontario. So better than nothing. But these do have great scrappable items inside of them that I am going to make a lot more money on taking the time to separate them. There is a lot of number 2 copper in them, especially the 2 wheels. There is some nice die cast inside of that, some circuit boards, some copper wire, and other great items. So very easy to take apart. Gonna do that today, show you how to identify the material, and more importantly, maximize your profit and divert as much of this away from the landfill as possible. So here we go. For the sake of time, I have already removed the outer screws. So there are 2 plastic panels here that do have a little bit of goodies inside. This one here, I do want to make sure that I not only maximize my profit, but divert as much of this away from the landfill as possible. So there is a small circuit board right there that I am going to grab out of that. So this again, 5 to 6 cents a pound for this e-waste. Not much to it. There are really no relay boxes on this or anything like that, but it is glued to that, so I do have to pry that off. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of plastic here that is going to go into the garbage, and I have had a question from a fellow scrapper new to the scrapping world asking me, how do I get rid of my plastic? Unfortunately, it does depend on where you live. Some places will accept it in the blue boxes. Some, unfortunately, will go into the dumpster. And there are some places, especially out east, I've had several of my subscriber friends out there say that they actually get paid to bring in plastic like this at the scrapyard. There is a government incentive, and they will get paid for that per weight, per poundage. And unfortunately, here in Ontario, we have not gone on board on that yet. But hopefully it is in the near future. We could definitely reduce the amount of plastic that goes into the landfill. So again, unfortunately, it does depend on where you are. There is also right here some nice wire. This wire here, this one, I am actually just going to throw into low grade. There really is not much copper recovery in there. It's very thin. So I get about 50 to 55 cents a pound for this. Okay, this wire here, a little bit higher gauge, a little bit thicker. This stuff, I am just going to remove this little plastic sheath, and I am going to get what we classify as 60% appliance wire for this. And that right now going for about $2.35 a pound. There is not a lot here, but it does add up. There is also right here the connector where the charger goes to, the battery, a little bit of brass there, so I do have to pry that out of there. But again, the rest of this frame is going to be plastic. The rest of this is pretty straightforward. There are a lot of screws inside of it. And again, for the sake of time, I have removed a lot of these as well. But one of the items of weight and of interest is the battery itself. So just going to take this out. And you do have to check with your scrapyard with batteries. This is a lithium-ion battery. Some scrapyards will take these for monetary value. Some of them will take them just as a recycling program and not pay you for them. So it does all depend on where you are. And there are different categories. Your lead-based batteries, like your cars, RVs, lawnmowers, those ones, because of the lead acid inside of those are a separate category. Household batteries, another category. Again, places like London, they will not take household batteries for monetary value, but they will recycle them free of charge for you. In Sarnia, Ontario, they will actually take these lithium batteries as well as household and give you about 6 to 8 cents a pound. So you do want to call around. Obviously, better recycling them than going into your dumpster and the landfill for sure. But there are markets for these depending on where you live and different scrapyards. So again, this is a nice weight to it. I'm gonna have 2 of them, so 1 from each of these. As well, I have tried recharging this. Sometimes you can resell batteries, especially when it comes from larger appliances and electronics like this. But these are dead, unfortunately. So again, gonna recycle these, get 5 to 6 cents a pound in Sarnia. But unfortunately in London, these would just be giving me free of charge recycle. As well as your batteries that go into drills and other power tools. Those are also your lithium ones, and that would be this category as well. So you do want to make sure you separate them. I do have separate videos showing you how to separate batteries, what categories to put them in. So I will include the link to that video in my description. So if you're interested, go check that out. But again, a nice battery here. The rest of this silver or glistening frame here, this is actually going to give me die cast, and it goes all the way both sides. There is a little bit of metal in here, but die cast right now like this, going to give me about 45 cents a pound. So there are a couple screws that I have to remove out of there, and I will, for the sake of time, remove those later. I will put the full breakdown and weights of all these items in my comment section. But again, very simple to do, just tons of screws. So there is categories for your die cast. At first I did think it was cast aluminum, but if in doubt with stuff like this, you can just have it separated at a scrapyard. The scrapyards, it's easier if you have it separated for them to throw it into the pile that they believe it should be in. If you had it all together in one bag, unfortunately, if you have your cast aluminum and your die cast or zinc cast, for example, they are about 6 cents different. Right now, cast aluminum going for a little bit higher. And if they are mixed, unfortunately, the scrapyard will penalize you, downgrade you. So you want to make sure that you have them separated. And if in doubt, you just have them off to the side in maybe a different container. So here again, a little bit more plastic. This circuit board here, a little bit more e-waste. There are a few goodies on there, and it does depend on the type of yard you go to as well. Some scrap yards will give you high grade, medium grade, low grade, depending on what's on your circuit board. This one, as you can see here, does not have any gold on it. There are a few MLCCs here. If you are into micro scrapping, MLCCs do have a little bit of palladium in them, or they can contain palladium. Unfortunately, the scrap yards I go to only give me one price for these. So again, 5 to 6 cents a pound for these. So if there are items like copper on these, or some of my crystal oscillators, transformers, I am going to get a lot more money taking the time to separate those and bringing those in their own categories. But this one, again, another example of low-grade board, and again, e-waste price. Okay, going into here, tons of wire, and wire like this, as mentioned, there is a lot of low-grade wire here that's just connected through the neck here, if you will. Okay, gonna just quickly right now go to the last place. Where is my money maker? Are actually the wheels. There is one screw. I just have to disconnect this. Gonna do that right now. Found my Allen key. Just gonna pull this off, show you. Okay, so again, there is a lot of plastic on these, but very simple to take apart, as you can see there. So one last screw, my Allen keys and my screws, all of these items, I guess, I will actually just throw into a container. I get steel weight price for these. You can see these are pretty thick, these bolts here, going for about 10 to 13 cents a pound. I do contain or have all of my screws and nails and nuts and bolts in containers. Easy to transport, easy to store, as well as safe. They're not going to fall out and potentially puncture a tire. So here again, little piece. This is, as mentioned, die cast, 45 cents a pound for this. And these are pretty heavy pieces, so going to be a nice score off of this. My wheel right here, this is my money maker. Okay, a lot of nice wire going to it. It does have right here a frame. It does have a nice shiny metallic look to it. I did remove the screws off this, and I did want to actually point out the screws. Here are some of the screws that I have, and I'm just going to actually show you with a magnet. Okay, screws, if I take a magnet and they stick, they're obviously magnetic, but as you can see, there is a little bit of magnetic attraction. Okay, there it is right there. If they did not stick, they would be classified as stainless steel, and that right now going for about 77 cents a pound. But because there is magnetic attraction, even just a little bit, I'm going to throw those into my tin. So you do want to check anytime you have screws or bolts, especially with items like this. If they are outside more often, they are potentially going to be stainless steel, non-magnetic, and a higher value. So I actually have a small thermos that collects all of my stainless steel screws and bolts. As well, you can find some nuts and bolts that are brass. If you scratch them, they can be coated brass, or they could just have the yellow brass. So you do want to check. They are out there for sure, but because these do have even a little bit of magnetic attraction, they are going to be tin. Okay, so this faceplate, just going to pry this up here, put on a little bit of safety glasses so I don't potentially injure myself. But this plate, just going to pop it up a little bit, okay, crack it off of there. So again, this is actually a different style of metal. As you can hear, there is going to be, this is not die cast. This could be aluminum, or it could be something else. And the best way to figure this out is the spark test, as well as the magnet test. You can see, putting a magnet to it, it is non-magnetic. If I was to hit this with a grinder and it sparked, it's going to be stainless steel. If I hit this with a grinder and it does not spark, it's going to be aluminum. So this would actually be classified as clean aluminum, going as well for about 45 to 50 cents a pound. So I do have a grinder right here. I'm going to just show you quickly. Hit it with the grinder. Again, no sparks. It's going to be aluminum. If it sparks, it's going to be stainless steel. So again, nice piece of aluminum, and there's going to be one on each side of it. Just turning my wheel here. Look at that. Beautiful copper. And sometimes you will get faux copper, if you will. If I was to scratch this and it revealed a metallic look underneath, it's going to actually be aluminum windings. If I scratch it and it reveals the copper underneath, it's going to be number 2 copper. And currently right now, number 2 copper going for $4.30 a pound. So if this is copper, I want to get all of that copper out because it's going to be a lot more money getting that, separating it. As well, you can see there is tires on here. For the sake of this video, I am not going to remove the tire. I do have a full breakdown of how to remove rims from tires, not just from little objects like this, but vehicles as well. So I will include the link to that video. But for this one, I have already gone ahead, removed the outer frame. This is another nice piece of cast aluminum here. This is very heavy in itself, and these can be kind of tricky to get out. So my suggestion with these is I've taken a grinder. As you can see, I've grinded down on both sides. I want to open that up to try and get that cylinder. These cylinders, I've actually found big ones, huge ones from washing machines. Great source of copper, as mentioned. If I was to bring this in as is, I'm going to get copper motor price, and currently that's about 25 to 30 cents a pound. So this is probably about 6 pounds as is. So a good price, but going to be a lot more taking the time to remove that copper. So I have left a small little spot here. Do want to finish cutting that for this video to see if I can remove the rest of that copper donut. I call them copper donuts. They're just copper motors, but again, this too is aluminum, but want to make sure I have my safety glasses on. I'm going to turn this, see if I can pull this out. Okay, so the sparks came from the inner part. There is the metallic or magnetic, if you will, spoke right there. That is a giant piece of steel. Again, this is going to give me steel price, but just going to see if I can hit this, break it open with a heavy hammer now. Okay, so there you go. Starting to come off there. Look at that. So this is right in here. If I take a hammer or a magnet, sorry, there it is. You can see this does have a magnetic attraction. There is a huge, heavy, thick, powerful magnet that holds this motor inside of it. And because this is magnetic, I am actually going to get dirty aluminum price for this. So about 10 to 11 cents a pound for this, which is almost the same price as steel. So I'm just going to leave it. I could actually try and pry off some of these magnets. I do want to make sure I put safety glasses on. You can see that they are breaking off of there, which means that once I do that, the rest of this can be upgraded to clean. So 45 cents a pound for that. I am actually probably going to do a follow-up video just to see if I can remove these. I have had several questions from people asking me if it's possible. So you can see that some of them are broken. So it is possible for sure, but just gonna do, as I said, a follow-up video just to show you. But again, really nice piece of aluminum there. Okay, so right here, again, there is the rest of it. I may actually have to cut a little bit off of that to see if I can remove it. Let's just see if I can do it right now. Close this up. Pry this off of that magnet. Okay, so get that wheel. There we go. Set my vise. Holding it in place. Okay. All right. So here we go. See if I can just nail this off there. Take a pry bar. Okay, so again, just see if I can pry that up. I may, as I mentioned, just have to grind another piece off. There it goes. It's actually coming off right now. There you go. So, not pretty, but it did come off. So again, nice piece there. And here is, as mentioned, my money maker. I'm going to have to open this up. Okay, so number 2. Copper. Gotta move this vise here. It's starting to get in the way. There we go. So, number 2 copper right there. And all I'm actually going to do with this is I'm just going to cut down the sides and I'm going to feed it through on this side. So, I'm going to do that for a couple. Some people will use just snippers. And for me, just to speed this up, just going to actually grind right down there a couple. And just to show you, so I'm going to again put it in my vise. There is a little bit of copper dust that does get released when I use a grinder. That's part of the reason people don't like using the grinder. It does get in the air. You do lose a little bit of weight from the copper, but I'm just speeding up the process. Okay, so again, sparks did not come from the aluminum, but all I'm going to do now that it's broken open, just going to peel it, okay, on both sides. So I've got a couple worked on right now, but just to show you, okay, I'm going to feed it through my spoke, down to the bottom, feed it through, okay, just push it. There it goes down below. And now I'm just going to turn this to show you. So there is the little spools that are starting to come up right there. You can see them. And all I'm going to do right now is actually just take a pair of, where am I here? Just take a pair of needle nose pliers now and just pry them up. So they are easy to do. Okay, so just finding, there it is. Stick this under. There you go. So just a small flathead screwdriver. Okay, but again, there is some really nice number 2 copper. So I'm going to do this whole thing. I will include in my breakdown the full weight of this. Going to be more money than bringing that in as a copper motor, especially with the price of copper continuing to rise. Going to put this in a nice big bag, collect that number 2. And last question, some people have asked me a lot of times with color, sometimes you will see it a very nice, shiny, bright looking copper, and they will wonder why does it not classify as bare bright. Bare bright only pertains to copper wire that is thicker than 16 gauge, which is about the thickness of the lead of a pencil. So all of these, you can see individual strands, very thin. So number 2 copper, but again, at $4.30 a pound, I'm not going to complain about that. In our scrappers world, copper continues to be the scrapper's gold. So again, great wheel here. Once I'm finished that, the rest of this is going to be tin price or steel price. Going to give me the 13 cents a pound. Again, very easy to take apart. A little circuit board as well on here. This again has really nothing on here of value that's higher, except one little prong. I'm just going to show this baby. Just going to grab this prong right here, pull it. There are a few of these, and you do want to make sure you look out for these prongs. This is actually as well number 2 copper. You will find these a lot attached to aluminum heat sinks, but this, if I scratch it, these come off of your circuit boards. Here we go, it's just scratching it. Sometimes they are completely plastic, but this one, showing it up to the camera, you can see that corner, that is copper. So I do separate these. I have a huge container of these. So again, some more number 2 copper here. I have had a few people say that they do not have a buyer for these. The scrapyard has told them that there's too much plastic on them. And I would say for you, make sure you hold on to them, bring them to a different scrapyard. Scrapyards are fighting for copper right now. The price is at a great price, so you will find a buyer. So don't get discouraged, and definitely don't let them downgrade you and say that this is dirty copper. So again, some number 2 copper here. Lots of nice die cast in here. Great scrappable wheels that have copper in them, as well as an aluminum plate. And again, a little bit of plastic, but as well your lithium batteries. Very easy to take apart. And again, you can find these out on garbage day. So hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you again to the Van Lieshout family. Lauren, look forward to having you in class on Monday. But again, thank you for these and 2 items diverted from the landfill. So hope you enjoyed that. Please comment down below, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Tin Man out.